Oscar Grant is determined to leave his mistakes behind and start fresh. Meanwhile, his girlfriend, Sofina, is sick and tired of being cheated on and lied to. With the new year just around the corner, Oscar decides it's finally time to start working on his resolutions. First, he wants to become a better son to his mother, Wanda, whose birthday falls on New Year's Eve. Next, he wants to improve his relationship with his girlfriend, Sofina, because he hasn't been completely honest with her lately. Most importantly, Oscar wants to become a better father to their 4-year-old daughter, Tatiana. He tells Sofina that he's ready to leave his past behind and wants to spend the rest of his life with her and Tatiana. Just then, Tatiana knocks on the door. Oscar quickly hides his weed before opening it. Tatiana says she can't sleep and asks if she can stay with them for the night. Oscar agrees, and the three of them sleep together. The next morning, Oscar and Sofina get Tatiana ready for school. Before leaving, Tatiana asks her mom for an extra fruit snack, but Sofina tells her no. When they arrive at school, Oscar secretly gives Tatiana the extra snack and tells her to keep it a secret. After dropping Tatiana off, Oscar takes Sofina to work. He then heads to the grocery store where he used to work. Oscar lost his job there because he was always late and had a short temper. The problem is, he still hasn't told anyone about losing his job. On the way, Oscar calls his mother, Wanda, to wish her a happy birthday. He promises to come over that night so they can celebrate together. Wanda is a strict mother and immediately reminds Oscar to keep his headset on while driving. So Oscar improvises when he arrives at the store. He helps a customer named Katie, who is trying to figure out what to buy for fried fish. Not knowing what to recommend, Oscar calls his grandmother, Bonnie, for advice. Grandma Bonnie agrees to help, so Oscar hands the phone to Katie. After that, Oscar goes looking for Emmy, his former boss. Oscar tries to convince Emmy to give him his old job back, but things don't go as planned. Emmy explains that he has already hired someone new who is always on time, so he can't simply fire him to give Oscar his position back. Oscar gets heated and makes an empty threat before walking away. Just then, Katie interrupts him and thanks Oscar for helping her. Oscar then picks up a few things from the store for his mother's birthday and heads home. But Oscar has bigger problems to deal with. His rent is due, and his sister Shantae calls asking for help with her own rent. She also asks Oscar to give their mother a birthday card from her. Even though Oscar isn't sure if he'll have enough money to pay his own rent the next day, he still agrees to help his sister. He also spends much of the day preparing for Wanda's birthday party that evening, showing just how much he cares about his mother and his family. Still desperate for money, Oscar calls Marcus and reconsiders selling marijuana. He takes his stash and leaves to meet Marcus. On the way, Oscar stops at a gas station to fill up his car. While he's there, he notices a friendly dog and briefly plays with it. But when Oscar turns back toward the gas pump, tragedy strikes. A car suddenly hits the dog, and the driver doesn't even stop to check on it. Oscar immediately runs over, hoping he can save the poor animal, but it's already too late. The dog is dead. This particular incident didn't actually happen to Oscar Grant. It happened to Grant's younger brother. However, director Ryan Coogler included the scene because he saw a connection between the way pit bulls are treated by the public and the way black people are often treated and judged by society. Later, Oscar looks at a photo of himself with Tatiana and begins questioning the choices he's been making. He sits alone on a rock beside a lake and starts remembering a painful moment from his past. It takes him back to New Year's Eve in 2007 when he was serving time in San Quentin State Prison. Back then, Oscar was involved in drug dealing and had already spent time behind bars. Wanda comes to visit him and immediately notices that Oscar's face is bruised. She asks what happened, but Oscar avoids answering. At first, their conversation is warm and peaceful. But then another inmate disrespects Wanda, and Oscar immediately becomes furious. Wanda manages to calm him down and once again asks about his bruised face. Oscar tries to avoid the question again. That's when Wanda finally reaches her breaking point. She tells Oscar that she isn't going to keep visiting him anymore. This will be her last visit. She says that Tatiana shouldn't have to grow up dealing with the consequences of Oscar's choices. Wanda then gives her son one final message: he needs to turn his life around, at least for Tatiana's sake. Oscar gets furious when Wanda tells him she's leaving. In his anger, he says some hurtful things to her. Wanda doesn't fight back. She simply tells her son that she loves him and is praying for him before turning around to leave. As she walks away, Oscar realizes he's gone too far. He starts apologizing and asks her to come back for one last hug. But Wanda doesn't turn around. The painful memory ends, and Oscar finds himself thinking about selling drugs again. But this time, he thinks about Sofina and Tatiana. He realizes that getting back into the drug business could destroy the relationship he's trying so hard to save. So Oscar makes a difficult decision. He takes the stash and throws it into the water. A little later, Marcus arrives expecting to meet Oscar. Oscar tells him he didn't think Marcus was going to show up, so he already sold the drugs to someone else. Oscar gives Marcus the last piece he has and tells him to keep the money. Marcus tries to smoke with Oscar, but Oscar refuses. He thanks Marcus and walks away, determined to leave that life behind. Later, Oscar goes to pick Sofina up from work. She's carrying a cake she bought for Wanda's birthday, but the moment she gets into the car, she notices Oscar has been smoking weed inside. Sofina gets angry and tells him to stop smoking in the car, especially before they pick up Tatiana. Oscar doesn't argue, he simply stays quiet and drives, disappointed in himself. But the mood changes when they pick up Tatiana. The little girl is incredibly excited to see her dad and immediately starts telling him all about her day at school. Oscar plays with her, and the three of them enjoy some time together. Later, Oscar and Sofina take Tatiana to her grandmother's place. Sofina asks her mother if she can watch Tatiana that night, but her mother says she can't. Instead, she suggests asking Sofina's sister. Tatiana happily settles in to watch TV with her grandmother while Oscar and Sofina finally have a serious conversation. Sofina is furious because Oscar has just admitted that he lost his job 2 weeks ago. She immediately suspects that he's gone back to selling drugs. But Oscar insists that he has quit and is serious about starting over, even though things are extremely difficult right now. Sofina is shocked when she learns that Oscar threw away the drugs while he's unemployed. She asks what they're supposed to do for money. Oscar tells her they need to find something legal and that he's going to try to stay on the right path for at least 30 days. They make up, and Sofina warns Oscar never to put her through something like this again. A little while later, they arrive at Wanda's house for her birthday celebration. Oscar hangs out with the guys while filling out birthday cards. Meanwhile, Sofina and Tatiana join Wanda and Grandma Bonnie in the kitchen, where they're preparing Grandma Bonnie's famous gumbo. Once the food is ready, Wanda calls everyone to the table. Grandma Bonnie serves the food, and the whole family takes a moment to say a quick prayer before beginning the birthday celebration. Wanda thanks Oscar for everything he's done for her birthday and asks if he and Sofina have any plans for the night. Oscar explains that they plan to watch the fireworks with Sofina and some of his friends. Wanda immediately worries that they might be drinking. Oscar assures her that he won't be drinking, saying he can't even remember the last time he had a drink. But Wanda is still concerned about his friends. She suggests that they take the train instead. That way, they can enjoy the night, have a few drinks if they want, and they won't have to worry about driving. Oscar agrees and texts his friend to let him know they'll be taking the train later that night. Eventually, Oscar, Sofina, and Tatiana say their goodbyes and leave. Sofina takes Tatiana to her sister's house so she can stay there while they go out for the fireworks. Tatiana realizes that her parents aren't staying with her. She becomes scared when she hears gunshots outside. Oscar quickly reassures her that they're only firecrackers and tells her she's safe inside with her cousins. But Tatiana looks at him and asks, "What about you, Daddy?" Oscar tells her he'll be fine. Before leaving, he promises to take her and her mom out the next day. He tells Tatiana that he loves her, then heads out. Oscar and his friends meet up at the station and catch a train to San Francisco to celebrate the New Year and watch the fireworks. On the train, his friends smoke and try to get the attention of some women who are also on board. But when the train gets delayed, someone pulls out a speaker and everyone starts dancing. At exactly 11,059, Oscar finds someone wearing a watch and asks everyone to turn the music down. They begin counting down to the new year. Everyone wishes each other a happy new year as fireworks light up the sky. After getting off the train, Oscar and his friends join the huge crowd outside. People are cheering, shouting, honking their cars, and celebrating the fact that they've made it into the new year. Later that night, Sofina and another woman need to use the bathroom. Oscar spots a nearby store and begs the owner to let them inside, even though the man has already closed the shop. After some convincing, the man finally agrees. A little later, a stranger approaches Oscar with his pregnant wife and asks if they can use the bathroom too. Oscar pleads with the store owner again, pointing out that the woman is pregnant. While they wait, Oscar starts talking to the man. The man tells him that he had nothing when he first married his wife. Curious, Oscar asks how he managed to get his wedding ring. The man admits that he stole it, though it's clear from his expression that he isn't proud of what he did. The man warns Oscar not to go down the same path he once did, and Oscar promises that he won't. Before leaving, the man, who now runs a successful tech company, gives Oscar his business card and tells him to stay in touch. Soon, Sofina and the other woman return, and everyone heads back to the station to catch the train home. On the train, Oscar finds a seat for Sofina. She tells him she's fine and asks him to find a seat for himself. Oscar gets up and walks down the aisle. Then, Katie, a customer from the grocery store where Oscar used to work, suddenly spots him and calls out his name. This catches the attention of a man named Grant, who has recently been released from prison. Sofina immediately asks Oscar what's going on. Oscar tells her to get his friend, but before anyone can react, the man suddenly starts hitting him. A fight breaks out inside the train. By then, the police have already been called. When they get off the train and try to leave the station, BART police arrive. Instead of calming the situation, the officers focus their attention on Oscar and the other black men involved. Officer Caruso begins using excessive force against Oscar. People around them are shocked, and several passengers pull out their phones and start recording what is happening. Another officer, Ingram, arrives, and Caruso tells him to watch the crowd while he goes back toward the train to look for witnesses. Meanwhile, everything is becoming more chaotic. Sofina calls Oscar and asks where he is. Oscar tells her that the officers are holding him down and beating him, but he insists that he's okay. Oscar tries to reason with Caruso and explain what happened, but Caruso becomes aggressive and attacks him again. The situation quickly gets worse when Caruso uses a racial slur against Oscar, making him even more upset. Caruso and Officer Ingram then force Oscar to the ground and pin him down. Caruso presses his foot against Oscar's head while Ingram struggles to put the handcuffs on him. Then, after several attempts, Ingram pulls out his gun. A moment later, he fires. Oscar is shot in the back. The crowd falls silent as everyone realizes what has just happened. Officer Ingram finally handcuffs Oscar while the police clear everyone out of the train. Caruso immediately calls for an ambulance. Despite everything that has happened, the only thing Oscar can think about is his daughter. He keeps repeating that he has a daughter.
You shot me. I got a daughter. Keep your eyes open.
Meanwhile, Sofina is desperately trying to find out what's going on. When she finally reaches Oscar's friends, they tell her the police have shot him. The emergency medical team arrives and begins treating Oscar. Sofina is on the phone with Wanda when she suddenly sees Oscar being carried out on a stretcher. She tells the paramedics that she's his girlfriend and asks to go with him, but they refuse and rush Oscar to the hospital. Wanda calls Sofina back, and Sofina breaks the terrible news. She tells her that Oscar has been shot and is being taken to Highland Hospital. When they arrive, the family is told that Oscar is already in surgery. After some time, the doctor comes out with an update. He explains that they've managed to stabilize Oscar, but he's still in critical condition because his body hasn't fully responded to the blood transfusions. The doctors are doing everything they can to save him. Wanda knows there's nothing else they can do but wait, so she asks everyone to pray for Oscar. They gather together and pray, hoping that Oscar will somehow pull through. But after a while, the doctors return with heartbreaking news. Oscar didn't make it. Wanda asks to see her son, but she's told that she can't touch him because his death is being treated as a homicide case. When she is finally shown Oscar's body, Wanda breaks down in tears. She blames herself for suggesting that Oscar take the train instead of driving that night. She desperately begs to hug her son, but the hospital staff won't allow it. Meanwhile, Sofina goes to pick up Tatiana and brings her home. As Tatiana gets ready, she innocently asks her mother the question that Sofina has been dreading.
Where's Daddy?
At the Fruitvale BART Station, several witnesses had recorded the incident on their cell phones and video cameras. The footage quickly spread and sparked a wave of protests and riots throughout the Bay Area as people demanded justice for Oscar. Following the incident, the officers involved were fired, while BART's general manager and police chief both stepped down from their positions. The officer who shot Oscar was arrested and charged with murder. He later claimed that he had mistaken his gun for his taser. In the end, the jury found him guilty of involuntary manslaughter. He was sentenced to 2 years in state prison but was released after serving just 11 months. Oscar Julius Grant died at approximately 9 a.m. on January 3, 2009, at only 22 years old. The movie ends with real footage of people gathering to remember Oscar and celebrate his life, including his young daughter, Tatiana Grant. Oscar's life was cut tragically short, but his story continued to live on through his family, his daughter, and the people who demanded that his death not be forgotten. If you enjoyed this recap, make sure to like, subscribe, and share the video.